Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar, what a pleasure to see you at the very spot where you fulfilled a lifetime's ambition.
Unbelievable. This spot was something special, Rajdeep. Actually, let me take the same seat where I was seated during 2011 World Cup. This is where I sat in the dressing room and Viru was right next to me.
So Viru was sitting there, you were here right through the final. I mean,
Yes.
ever since you got out in that final, you all sat on the same chair till we hit the winning shot.
Yeah, I mean, I was here, my kit bag was right here in front of me, and I was praying that, God, please do the best you can to make us win today. And Viru was wanting to jump out of the dressing room and set out. I said, "Tu kahan nahi ja raha hai?" He was sitting here next to me, and we are not moving, because that's when the partnership had started to flourish.
This was the Dhoni Gambhir partnership.
No, I'm a little superstitious, and something like this is happening. When we are seated, there is a partnership, no reason to get up.
So only two of you were in the room, you and Viru, or was everybody else
There
around?
were a couple of guys around going in and out, but
You remember who
my
was-
focus was on Viru. I said, "You are not moving from this spot."
Tell me, were you watching the match as it was playing, that World Cup final, as the final was, as that partnership you're talking about was being built up, or were you only listening to the noise? Were you watching the television?
And if a batsman has hit a boundary or a sixth, and so, I mean, crowd goes berserk, and that is something that we, really enjoy. We know sitting here, कि boundary mara hai, kahan mara hai. Then the next question is, where have they hit? Kisne mara hai? And all those kind of things happen. But sitting here in the dressing room, you can make out.
Were you nervous while you were sitting in that chair, ki we are going to win this match? Or was there a sense, nothing should go wrong today?
Confident, but also not to feel overconfident is also equally important. Anything is possible in sports, and I was just hoping that we continue that form. We were playing good cricket, and it was important to finish well. And I knew that we had the firepower to finish the game easily, because it was a matter of first 10-12 overs, and then when the dew sets in, it becomes difficult for bowlers to grip. And there Muralidharan and Suraj Randeep, I think it's not easy when the ball is wet to get that break off the wicket.
I'm just wondering whether you and Viru were very depressed that you were out in a World Cup final. I mean, and therefore was there a sense of depression? Were you feeling depressed?
World Cup finals, obviously the biggest game in one-day cricket, but we were sitting together, hoping that now the ball will stop swinging or turning, because the moment it gets wet, then it starts coming onto the bat.
Were you talking a lot?
Yes, we were chatting a lot.
About what? About cricket or about other things in life?
No,
I've often wondered whether when you're in the dressing room, you try to switch off by talking about other things, listen to a Kishore Kumar song or think of other things.
Not when the World Cup final is on.
So when the World Cup final is on, this room was silent? I can't
Yeah,
believe.
it was silent. And we were talking about the game, and I don't think Baji was around. I think he was possibly outside, or even if he came inside the dressing room, it wasn't for long. My focus, as I said earlier, was only on Viru, and I said, we are not moving from this spot. We continue to be here.
Do you watch it on TV? Were you watching it on TV?
Rajdeep, what happened? During quarterfinals also.
Against Australia.
Nitin Patel was there and Amit Shah was also there. Both were there, and then while Amit was working on my neck, Viru was coincidentally seated there. And Viru told him that, you are wasting your time. He has fallen asleep. Not knowing that I was aware of everything, and I was praying. I was saying, please God. And I thought of that, and I said, I'm not going to let Viru go in the finals also, because it worked there, it will work here also.
So do you pray a lot? Are you someone who's particularly when it's a big match like that, if you're in the dressing room, do you pray? Is there a particular sort of image that comes in front of you?
No, I just pray, and I just thank God for whatever we've got. And I think whatever we've got in life, it's important to value. And I value that, and I've not taken anything for granted, and that's the reason, I continue to pray. I think it is important.
Do you have a lucky charm? During the World Cup, did you have a lucky charm that you kept with you or something, a Sai Baba pendant or something that you keep constantly right through that World Cup of 2011?
I carried a book which was given to me by Sri Satya Sai Baba himself, and I carried that book with me.
Through the World Cup, you carried the book.
Cup,
and
yes.
where would you keep it? In your kit bag? And
no, it would be in my room where I keep all the gods. And
I'm just wondering, in a dressing room like this, when that winning shot was hit, and as you said, you were listening to the crowd.
Yes.
You're silent. You're not allowing Viru to speak. Then the shot is hit.
Viru told me that सिर्फ 4-5 रन रह गए अभी तो बाहर जाते हैं ये मिस निकला. I said you'll get to see that a million times later on. Don't leave this spot. So far it has worked. There came a stage where we realized now the match is out of their hands, and then we sort of started relaxing a bit, and last 15 runs to go, and
But that very moment,
6 wickets in hand.
That very
7
moment.
wickets in hand, and we
Do you remember what you said? What
done.
the first words you said when you won the World Cup? Do you remember who you thought of?
Yeah, both of us were here. First I did namaskar to all the gods, and I said thank you very much, and then I screamed and ran out. And
You screamed? Sachin Tendulkar screamed?
Of course.
Then it was you were like a little boy again once again.
Yeah, very much, very much.
There was that moment, of course. I'm sure this dressing room must have been full of champagne by the end of the night.
Absolutely.
Champagne, or you sat here for till what time? Match got over after 10. Did you all stay here till midnight?
I think we were here till almost 1:30 or so. 1:30.
1:30. What,
Yeah,
having
because
champagne?
Yeah, because our families also joined us here.
That's right.
And then couple of our fans also. I invited that Sudhir, who's my fan, and who's traveled all over India supporting us, and he doesn't expect anything. He doesn't want anything in return. He comes here and supports the team religiously. So I just thought it was a perfect moment to invite him inside the dressing room and make him hold a World Cup.
There was the image for me, of course, is your teammates Yusuf Pathan and Virat Kohli lifting you on their shoulders.
Yes.
And Virat made that point that Sachin has carried India's hopes on his shoulders for 25 years. Today we are carrying him on our shoulders. Did you cry?
I did cry.
Did you break down?
When I went out in the middle, I did cry. I think this is the only time I've had happy tears right there in the middle, because that moment was just priceless moment.
Bigger than anything else that you've ever had in this game?
That moment was something that you can only dream of. Playing in India, my home ground, lifting the biggest trophy in the world.
What time did you go to sleep that night?
I pretended to sleep because I couldn't sleep. I was so excited.
You didn't sleep the whole night?
No, I did.
But it must have been 6 in the morning by the time you finally went to sleep.
Bit earlier than that. I think I went off to sleep by about 4 o'clock or so.
Okay, Sachin, I'm going to take you out of the dressing room to what I call your temple, which is the ground itself, and I'm going to talk to you about your teammates, because cricket is a team game, and the 11 of you did us so proud that day. So let's talk about them. In your theatre of dreams, as we are looking back at that World Cup final, this is where it happened. This is where you came running?
Yes, we went down from there, but that is where everyone jumped.
Okay.
And then they ran down onto the ground.
That's right. Then you are, of course, as I said, taken on the shoulders by your teammates. Your teammates, as I said. It's important to analyze their role. You mentioned Viru. Do you think there has ever been a better one-day batsman who's terrorized the other side than Viru?
No, Viru, I would say, first of all, let me come to the first point. Without a great team, you cannot produce good results. And I thought we didn't start off that well, because we were either bowling well or batting well. But both put together as a package, we were not clicking. If we batted well, then bowling faltered somewhere, and if we bowled well, then batting was not up to the mark. But then just when it mattered towards the end of the tournament, we started peaking at the right time, and both started becoming a formidable package, batting, bowling. Obviously we fielded well as well.
You know, you had, as I said, Viru.
Coming back to Viru again.
Yes.
Viru is obviously, one of the gifted players that I've played with, one of the gifted players to have played this sport, but most unpredictable batsman. Opposition would not know what he was going to do. Standing under non-strikers, I would sort of knew.
Did you know what he was going to do?
Yeah, I got to know Viru over a period of time.
You knew when he was going to hit the bowler over his head?
Yeah, then I started figuring out, when bowlers are thinking that they're not going to be hit, that is when Viru would strike them.
And then you had a number 3 in Gambhir, who had, who played really a remarkable innings in that finals.
Gautam played brilliantly, and I thought he was extremely positive, and he capitalized on the conditions first of all, because after the first spell, the ball got slightly wet and it started coming onto the bat, and then to have played those kind of shots which Gautam played, I think it was just incredible batting, but above all, terrific approach.
And you had a young Virat Kohli, young. He was young at the time.
Still young.
He's still young. But obviously had the hunger. What I sense in that team, all of you had the hunger, the self-belief that you could win a World Cup.
I mean, see, this was the biggest stage for all of us, because none of us have, barring I think me alone, nobody has played a World Cup in India. I played in 1996, but I don't think any of these members were part of 1996 squad. And
were you all feeling the pressure of home crowd, or were you actually getting encouraged, motivated by the home crowd?
See, the pressure was there, and it's good to have that pressure. I think to have that kind of pressure which will bring the best out of us is good for us. And that is what we had.
And Virat and all have that. No, they seem to have the young, aggressive spirit. The younger boys.
All the guys were aggressive. I mean, if you see even players like Ashish Nehra, Munaf, Zahir, all the guys, I mean, they're all aggressive. Harbhajan, I mean, you got to hold these guys back, And then it is all about how you display your aggression.
And then, of course, the man of the series, Yuvraj Singh, who dedicated it all to you. Said it was because of Sachin.
Right from the first game, when UV whether went into bat or started bowling or was fielding, something happened. And that continued till the last game. He came and he got that crucial wicket of Sangakkara, caught behind.
I'm told he said he's dedicating it to you. He was in a way dedicating it to you.
Sort of, yes. I mean, he told me a number of times, even after that and before that also, he said that, we would like to do something special for you, and this is our last opportunity, so we better get it right.
So he was there for you, and there was the captain, MS Dhoni. I mean, let's be clear, went up the order in that final and stayed till the very end. Has there been a better finisher?
I thought, he went in and then he was very calm. He controlled the game. He got used to the conditions, and then he built a beautiful innings. He constructed it beautifully, hitting those powerful blows.
Possibly the best finisher?
Most consistent finisher, I feel.
That there ever has been in one-day cricket?
Yeah, I mean, the other name that I can think of is Michael Bevan. I'm sure I've missed out number of names, but Dhoni, I would put him right there at the top with anyone else.
You're right. It almost seemed as if every piece was fitting in. Every player knew what his role was. And that perhaps is what made your team so special, isn't it? There was no one who you could say was a passenger that day. Everybody had a role to play in that team. As you said, your fast bowler Zahir, there was Munaf, Ashish Nehra had, the odd good game. So everybody had a role to play. You had Ashwin bowling his off spins, you had Harbhajan. It was almost the perfect team.
Yeah, one name you missed out, Srishant was also there.
I missed out on Srishant, yes.
I think all these guys, had a role to play, and all these guys understood when to do what. And I thought we were able to display all those things when it mattered. The last 3 matches of a tournament like World Cup, they are important matches. You play the first round, then you qualify to the Super 6s and Super 8s and all those kind of things. But the last three matches, quarterfinals, semis and finals, is where I thought we got everything right.
I'm going to come to that in a moment. I just want one more name before I take a break, which is Gary Kirsten. We sometimes forget that there is a manager. Low profile, but as I said, that shot of Gary doing this at the end.
That said it all, didn't it?
What did you do? You didn't do this.
I did that
this.
a million times. Yes,
Yeah,
I
you did
that
this?
Yeah, after all that, I mean, I did
Show it to
that
us, yeah.
a million times. No.
Yeah. No,
You got to bring a World Cup here.
You did this, so it obviously was, Gary was very special also.
Gary was amazing. Gary understood what was needed at that particular hour and when to react in a particular manner. When to press the pedal and when to back off. And he did that brilliantly.
All of these players had a big role to play in winning that World Cup. There's one person whose journey I haven't spoken about. I'm going to speak about his journey and I'm going to take you to the stand.
It was important to finish well. And I knew that, we had the firepower to finish the game easily because it was a matter of first, 10, 12 overs. And then when the dew sets in, it becomes difficult for bowlers to grip. And there, Muralidharan and Suraj Randeep, I think it's not easy when the ball is wet to get that break off the wicket.
I'm just wondering whether you and Viru were very depressed that you were out in a World Cup final. And therefore, was there a sense of depression? Were you feeling depressed?
World Cup finals, obviously, the biggest game in one-day cricket. The spot was something special. Rajdeep, actually, let me take the same seat where I was seated during 2011 World Cup. This is where I sat in the dressing room and Viru was right next to me.
So Viru was sitting there, you were here right through the final?
Yes.
Ever since you got out in that final, you all sat on the same chair till we hit the winning shot.
Yeah, I was here, my kit bag was right here in front of me and I was praying that, God, please do the best you can to make us win today. And Viru was wanting to jump out of the dressing room and set out. I said, "Tu kahan nahi ja raha? You're sitting here next to me." Crowd goes berserk and that is something that we, really enjoy. We know sitting here, boundary mara hai, kahan mara hai. Then the next question is, where have they hit? Kisne mara hai? And all those kind of things happen. But sitting here in the dressing room, you can make out.
Were you nervous while you were sitting in that chair, ki we are going to win this match? Or was there a sense, nothing should go wrong today?
Confident, but also not to feel overconfident is also equally important. Anything is possible in sports. And I was just hoping that, we continue that form. We were playing good cricket and we are not moving because that's when the partnership had started to flourish.
This was the Dhoni-Gambhir partnership.
No, I'm little superstitious and something like this is happening. When we are seated, there is a partnership, no reason to get up.
So only two of you were in the room? You and Viru, or was everybody else around?
There were a couple of guys around going in and out, but
you remember who
my focus was on Viru. I said, you are not moving from this spot.
Tell me, were you watching the match as it was playing, that World Cup final, as the final was, as that partnership you're talking about was being built up, or were you only listening to the noise? Were you watching the television?
And if a batsman has hit a boundary or a six, then to
Ramesh Tendulkar, what a pleasure to see you at the very spot where you fulfilled a lifetime's ambition.
Unbelievable.